Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Raisa, and today I'm going to talk about Virginia Woolf and one of her greatest essays, which is called A Room of One's Own. And to begin with, um, I want to read this great sentence, which is taken out from this essay of hers, A Room of One's Own. And it says, a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. Well, the sentence was written by Virginia Woolf. She was a modernist novelist and she was born in London in 1882. Her father was a well-known and respectable and noble literary critic, Leslie Stephen, and she and her sister didn't go to a formal school. They were homeschooled. They were educated at home, and Virginia got interested in literature because of the many books her father had at home. Her surname, Wolf, only comes after she marries another literary critic called Leonard Woolf. A Room of One's Own, this essay that I'm going to talk about, was written in 1929, and it was one of her greatest essays and um, one of the most political ones of hers. So to talk a little bit about this essay, let's imagine, well, if Shakespeare had a sister who was given the same time, the same money, and the same space to be creative as Shakespeare had, wouldn't have this sister, wouldn't have Shakespeare's sister had a chance to become a writer too? Well, in this essay, A Room of One's Own, Virginia Woolf argues that in order to become as creative as men in literature, women should be given the same opportunities, whether on financial or social aspects. She specifies that an inheritance of £500 a year, which would give, well, £500 a year back in that time, right? Which would give a woman financial independence, is more important than women getting the vote. And when this essay was, you know, she wrote this essay from several lectures she was delivering on universities, and back in that year women still didn't have the right to vote. That's why she said that financial independence is more important back in that moment, or was more important back in that moment, than getting to vote, than women getting to vote. So in this essay, she invented a fictional sister to Shakespeare, whom she calls Judith Shakespeare. She invites us to imagine that this imaginary sister of William Shakespeare, was born with the same genius, the same potential to become a great writer as her brother, as Shakespeare. But she is shut off from the opportunities her brother enjoys, which were grammar school, education, the chance to become an actor in London, the opportunity to earn a living in the Elizabethan theater. So instead, Judith Shakespeare, the fictional sister, Shakespeare fictional sister, would find the doors to these institutions closed in her face purely because she was born a woman, you know, just because of her gender. Wolf's point is made in response to people who claim that a woman writer as great as Shakespeare has never been born. This claim misses the important fact that great writers are made as well as born, and few women in Shakespeare's time enjoyed the opportunities men like Shakespeare had. Um, this fictional sister, Judith, would never have become a great writer because the financial arrangements for women were not focused on educating them so that they could become breadwinners for their families, but on preparing them purely for marriage and motherhood and in charge of household chores, and that's it. Their lives, the lives of these women, were structured around marriage as the most important economic and material event in their lives, for it was by becoming a man's wife that a woman would attain financial security. So in this essay, she argues that if women were given the privilege that men were to have access to money, to time, to space, there would have been more great women in literature. If Shakespeare's fictional sister Judith wasn't given the opportunity to be writing as Shakespeare was, as William Shakespeare was, because instead she had to deal with the household responsibilities and also get married in order to have someone to financially support her, then she wouldn't have ways to become a great writer. It isn't fair that the opportunity to be creative isn't given to women because purely because of their gender. And this is very, very emphasized in this essay of Virginia's. Well, going a little back about Virginia's life, about the author's life, she wasn't mentally healthy. She wasn't very mentally healthy. She had several problems and she had some mental breakthroughs throughout her life. She ended up filling her pockets with rocks and drowning herself in the Ouse River, which was nearby her house. Her body was only found 3 weeks after that, 3 weeks later, in April 18th, in 1941. That's when she committed suicide, and her body was only found 3 weeks later by a group of children. She left a note to her husband, which said, um, in which she said, "Dearest, I feel certain I am going mad again. I feel we can't go through another of those terrible times, and I shan't recover this time. I begin to hear voices and I can't concentrate. So I'm doing what seems the best thing to do. You have given me the greatest possible happiness. You have been in every way all that anyone could be. I don't think two people could have been happier till this terrible disease came. I can't find I can't fight any longer. I know what I am. I know that I am spoiling your life, that without me you could work, and you will. I know. You see, I can't even write this properly. I can't read. What I want to say is I owe all the happiness of my life to you. You have been entirely patient with me and incredibly good. I want to say that everybody knows it. If anybody could have saved me, it would have been you. Everything has gone from me, but the certainty of your goodness. I can't go on spoiling your life any longer. I don't think two people could have been happier than that we have been. Virginia Woolf's feminist thoughts and writing works made her be considered the pioneer of feminism in England, and she left a great legacy. Her works helped lots of women, and it helped a lot on women's struggle to conquer equity and rights, especially the voting rights, which were being, fought for back in that time. So this was what I had to say about Virginia and about this one of her greatest essays. And I hope you guys have enjoyed or have understood what I meant, and have a good night.